Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about OnlyFans. This subject was requested by a lot of you, and I've already made a video on the general subjects before. You can go back. I'll put it in the description down below. I might repeat some of the things I said in that video because they bear repeating. I think there are a variety of dangerous narratives around OnlyFans. Obviously, it's not true that OnlyFans makes the average woman incredibly wealthy and lets her buy a mansion. That's an example from what the media presented to us when the app first became big during the pandemic. The average woman makes very little on OnlyFans. It's a myth that women get rich, but we've been force-fed this so many times, a lot of us believe it. So women who are on this app, they get it from all sides. General society thinks they're lazy, they don't want to do real work, and they're getting quick money so easy on that app. When again, it's neither a lot of money nor is it easy, and we'll go into the details of that more later in the video. But then there are also women who call themselves feminists who rag on women trying to survive via OnlyFans, saying that they're responsible, they're grooming little girls while they're sitting in their mansions. Again, most of these women are not sitting in mansions. They can barely afford their rent, and OnlyFans isn't particularly helping, while it is at the same time exposing them to all kinds of dangers. So I don't believe in this divide where we need to have empathy with women who are in the real prostitution and porn industry and women on OnlyFans. They're all part of the patriarchal class that we fight against. I don't believe in that division. Is OnlyFans as dangerous as regular prostitution? Obviously not. But is it harmless? No. And it's often a gateway into the regular sex trade too. Women on OnlyFans are getting it from all sides, and a lot of disrespect actually comes from the men who pay for the service. A lot of the societal stigma comes from the men whose whims decide whether she's going to make those few extra bucks that she needs this month. To make it a little less abstract and a little more concrete, I'm going to go through this Twitter account that is called OnlyFans Girls Posting L's. So L's, for those who don't know, stands for losses or for losing. So the mentality of a lot of people is, OnlyFans is not so serious that we would need to empathize, but it is kind of pathetic. A loser guy becomes an incel and a loser woman becomes a woman on OnlyFans, like those things are in any way comparable. Yeah, this account really, I think it should rename itself to, exposing OnlyFans, the platform, for how exploitative it is, but instead it's ragging on the women. It's always like, women should have known better. I just want to remind everyone, we don't say that, or at least we're slowly stopping to call women who get into abusive relationship, you are the master of your own destiny, you pick that guy, you should have known better. I think the sex trade is a lot like an abusive relationship, and especially because we're force-fed so much propaganda of how great it is. This propaganda both entices young women and some girls to enter the platform or similar ones, and it also reduces the empathy in society. So yeah, lots of people now file OnlyFans under sex work. Has that led to empathy for the women in it, or respect? Do a significant number of people believe that it's a, dignified craftsmanship? No, they don't. They think it's women just lying on their back, taking pictures of their panties and getting rich. Okay, that's a long preamble. I'm just gonna go into it to see what this account posts, because while I think the framing of the account is terrible and victim blaming, the content does tell us something. And I'm going to try not re-exploit the women who are exploited by this account. Even though this is public information, I'm not going to show you the images of their faces or anything like that, or tell you where to find them online. I'm just going to talk about those cases anonymized. The first post that ended up in my timeline, which is how I even know that this account exists, was one of a woman saying the following. My dad, yes, my dad has been buying my OnlyFans content through not one but two accounts, and was a personal client of mine on both accounts for over a year. And the only way I found out is because he had called me to play with myself for $150, and I could hear my mom in the background talking on the phone. This is one of the most painful examples of how, yes, the men on OnlyFans can touch her, but they can absolutely degrade her with, making these invasive requests. And a lot of them will harass her to do more. And this could very well be a man who's in her personal life. The number one thing that you risk being on OnlyFans is your anonymity. And because society hates women who survive through any part of the sex trade and, views them as used up and public goods, yeah, it leads to disrespect. And the person doing the abuse could be your cousin, uncle, friend, or your dad. There are cases of women, fearing that the material will be shown to families who don't know that this is how they're making ends meet. And then there's just straight up the family as the customer. Now, it would not be weird if a dad had his daughter cut his hair if she was a hairdresser, but obviously this is incestuous abuse. Yes, this is an extreme example, but this is one way that women get traumatized by OnlyFans. And I don't even want to look at the comments on this post because I wager a lot of them are going to blame her. She shouldn't have put it out in the first place. Now, we don't know her backstory, but sounds like her parents had money to spare that they didn't give to her when she clearly probably needed it. Honestly, I don't care why a woman is on OnlyFans. In this case, it doesn't matter. This is abuse. And it comes in other forms that are less obviously egregious when it's not her literal dad, but calling this an L, a loss, framing her as a loser, akin to, I don't know, an incel is, I don't know, male losers play video games and female losers are sexually exploited. Like, we still live in a culture of victim blaming, and this is clearly a fucking patriarchy because this should have been reported to the police or something. Or, well, she should get referral to trauma services first of all, and then it's her choice what she does with that. Then we have another exchange posted by this account. Here's a man getting solicited by a woman saying, want to buy nudes. And let me say, I do think that is harassment. It's not okay to go around asking people if they want to buy your naked pictures or access your body for money, prostitution. I actually do think that's harassment, but women who go up to men offering themselves are still motivated on different grounds. And she explains later in the text, she says, sorry for bothering you. It's no big deal. I just lost my job a few weeks ago due to COVID. I haven't been able to pay my rent, so may not have a place to live, but whatever. Thank you, though. And yeah, I understand why this was posted, and I can see the comments. You shouldn't guilt trip somebody. Yeah, this is so depressing. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, it's not okay to harass people, but it's not the same thing when a man comes up to a woman and says, would you suck my dick for however many dollars, and when the woman says the opposite to a man. Both are harassment, but one of these is more egregious, and one of them is motivated by poverty or the threat of homelessness, and the other one by sexual entitlement. So yeah, I would make a distinction there. Like she says, like the women on OnlyFans are not lazy, and they're not just nymphos who found fulfillment through the perfect job for them. They're trying to make ends meet in a fucking desperate economy with rising prices in a lot of countries. Yeah, I'm glad I'm not showing you these pictures because some of them are objectifying. So here's a story about a masculinity coach who snatched a girl from another man, and then people find out that she's on OnlyFans. So this society that keeps saying sex workers work, at the end of the day still hates the woman in the industry. She has an OnlyFans as the new your wife's a whore. And this is where I 100% agree with women on the other side. I disagree that we'll solve this, stigma that does ruin lives by saying sex workers work. I think if men recognized women's humanity, they wouldn't want to purchase dehumanizing images of them or videos or whatever. That's why I think it can't be reformed, but we can all agree it's fucked up that having an account with nude images, which doesn't hurt anybody except the woman herself, that could ruin your life. But admitting that you're paying for that is nothing, is a breeze. Okay, there's more victim blaming. Here's a headline about how a boy drowned while his mom was doing an adult photo shoot. And if she had instead been packing groceries, then it wouldn't be in the headline. Doesn't matter what she was doing when her son died. She was probably doing the adult photo shoot to take care of her son. It suggests that, he wouldn't have drowned if she hadn't done that photo shoot or something. And it goes into the kindness of photos that she took. Like, that matters. Call it whorephobia, because I don't want to call any woman a whore, but hatred of women in the sex trade is certainly real. And this whole account is just that. Here's a woman who was on OnlyFans reporting what it did to her life. I would not recommend anyone to start an OnlyFans solely because I legit have no friends. All my civilian friends stopped hitting me up. Some I haven't heard from in months. No one asks how I am or what I'm up to or how business is going. And that's the thing. We talk about the sex trade like it's created because men are lonely. Men apparently need degrading images of women that makes them less lonely. Obviously bullshit. The real loneliness crisis are the women in the sex trade when their surroundings find out this is how they're making money. A lot of people are like, well, now you're lower class, whatever, you're lumpen. I don't want to hang out with you anymore. And that's not to say that there aren't women in the sex trade who then, try to recruit others or can be inappropriate or, want to talk about it while it makes others uncomfortable. I'm not saying that's not a thing. Right? Reality can be more complicated. Women in the sex trade have personalities as diverse as any other, and plenty of them know when to bring up the topic or not, and are very careful with that. But yeah, the real loneliness crisis are women in the sex trade losing their support system, their surroundings. This can have even happened to a woman on OnlyFans. It's not just, the Eastern European woman trafficked to Germany or ending up in Germany pushed by poverty, who then, has a phone call home maybe once a week, who is obviously lonely in a foreign country where she doesn't speak the language. It can also happen to a woman on OnlyFans. And then we have some examples of men becoming pimps, because that's the other thing. We were told that OnlyFans would be the platform without pimps, and that's ignoring that there is a former pornographer taking a 20% cut every time. There are just men pushing their girlfriends into this, which is what a lot of pimps have done historically. And they would generally not, post their own face. They wouldn't generally admit to this. They wouldn't be like, here's me, the beefy, ugly dude, doing it to my girl. You want to sell the fantasy of the nymphomaniac, that women are just doing this because it's their greatest desperation. They just enjoy it so much. That's the fantasy you want to sell. So the pimp would generally be visible, but they exist. And there are now increasing reports of men doing this. And because it's legal, there's also nothing we can do. And we don't know how big his cut is. So the owners of OnlyFans take 20% and then he takes however much, right? Men are doing this to their girlfriends and their wives. If you think OnlyFans is a pimp-free platform, you're delusional. Another thing on this account says, why do men start podcasts instead of going to therapy? And then a guy says, the same reason females start an OnlyFans instead of getting a job. Lol. And the truth in here would be that not every woman is equally likely to get into any part of the porn section. It is not a stereotype that there's probably some level of grooming or sex-related trauma that precedes it. It is easier to think that starting an account is not a big deal if you've already been solicited for naked pictures all your life, as a lot of teenage girls at this stage have. So women who are just a few years younger than me, I just barely escaped, a teenagehood with smartphones, just by a hair's breadth. Otherwise, that would have been my generation or my peers. Yeah, but the women and girls who are younger than me, they get primed for OnlyFans by their surroundings, and a lot of these events are traumatic, like, being a victim of revenge pornography, and then their thinking is, well, these pictures are already out there, I might as well monetize this. Everyone already thinks I'm a slut, well, at least I can pay my rent. The same way that a lot of women who are victims of rape and then end up in prostitution think, all my life, men have touched my body against my will or have just taken what they want from me sexually without getting permission. I might as well monetize it. That's not the point that the guy in this quote tweet wanted to make. I'm sure he didn't think that far. It's just the implication that women are lazy. That's the other thing, like, where I agree with the pro-prostitution lobby. They discuss how physically and emotionally taxing the industry is. And I mean, we've already touched on some of those things. How is it emotionally taxing? Well, people are judging your body 24/7, commenting on your body, saying you should do this, you should do that. You're a this, you're a that, based on your race, on your body weight, on your age, etc. And that's emotionally taxing. Having to play that role over and over again. Like, I'm an info, I'm a bimbo, I'm not a human being, I'm your doll, I'm your plaything. Incredibly emotionally taxing. And then the work that's involved. Well, because you're competing with so many other women, you have to do tons and tons and tons of promotion and try to stick out. And how can I stick out? And how can, there's a sea of women that men can choose from, that they can choose to exploit. How can I stick out? Right? You have to do a big advertising campaign or pay someone to do it for you, which you then accrue more cost. So this is a taxing job. It's not lazy. And you're probably going to pay for it in lack of anonymity, social stigma, and quite probably needing therapy later on. Yeah, this is a fucking depressing video. Here's a post from a woman talking about how much she loves her husband, and then talking about the men on OnlyFans, and all she does is post emojis. And for the, her husband, it's, heart emojis, happy emojis, kiss emojis, and for the men on her account, so her customers, she's posting, spider, devil, knife, gun, tombstone. Most of these quotes are quoting the women. This account could rebrand, like I said, to OnlyFans is exploiting women and post what men say that makes women, use these kinds of emojis. Because whatever the women are saying, you might find them silly or naive or whatever. What the men are saying is going to be so fucking dehumanizing and depraved. Maybe then you could see the light of day on this issue. I'm going to try and find some, because we're only getting her side of the story, and we're getting her side of the story while she's potentially dependent on this platform to make ends meet, which is why they're going to go back and forth between teehee, I'm a bimbo, and this is really messing with my head. Exactly the same dynamics you see for women in prostitution. OnlyFans is prostitution light. Another woman quoted here says that married by 25 looking real never-ish. While you're here, my OnlyFans is 40% off. Haha, young people aren't getting married because of this economy. That's another thing I find so depressing. Like out here, yes, some men are the enemy. Men who dehumanize and hurt women are the enemy. But then there's a lot of men running around frustrated at women when the reason that everything's shit is really the economy. The super rich who got richer during the pandemic, and the people who actually make the decisions in society, again, profit when men say, women are too picky and they don't want to marry us anymore, and women say men can't get their act together. It's true, some men can get their act together, but a lot of it is that people are just not giving a chance. They're not given a chance at a dignified life. And that's why men enter the military and organized crime, and women enter the sex trade. And it's not the individual's fault. It's the system that pushes people that way. And again, the joke, the reason why they put this, no one's going to want to marry her because she's been on OnlyFans. If you're OnlyFans, you're public goods, you're used up. I hate this so much. More examples of the same thing. I don't need to read them all out. Here's another woman saying, I don't know why the weight of being a sex worker feels incredibly heavy today. Maybe it's the lack of sun, smothering joy, or maybe it's being overly aware of how despised I am for trying to survive without killing myself slowly for a boss who steals my excess profits. Maybe it's reading all of this theory that it's dehumanizing and objectifying. I feel like rotten meat. Again, this economy, it is true that there are a lot of jobs out there that are degrading, so degrading in fact that sometimes the sex trade feels better, at least at the start, at least superficially. Or women are getting harassed on the job, or even solicited for prostitution on the job, and they're like, well, might as well go into the industry. You all see me like a piece of meat anyway. I don't care why a woman entered the sex trade. There's no such thing as being used up. It can feel that way. That is what the sex trade does to women emotionally, and that is what it does to the perception of society. The more people who've seen your naked body, or the more penises you had inside you, the more you are rotten meat. Again, the men who are doing this, the shitty bosses that are running the economy, they're not the ones getting criticized. The men who are objectifying her body, not getting criticized. It's just like, haha, look at that loser woman. And it's okay because she doesn't have a pimp. Or we don't know if she has one. We're just presuming. There's an example of a woman offering nude images for $10 because she's COVID positive and she can't afford some medication that would make it easier. Ha 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 ha, look at that stupid loser. Like, this account is so heartless. Oh yeah, I should say the profile picture of this account is, a young woman in tears. Because it's just so funny when women cry. And I said this at the beginning, I would never make a comparison between a woman on OnlyFans and an incel. But I also would say if you made the same account and you just made fun of men saying that they're upset and lonely, they can never get a girlfriend, and everyone says, ha ha, I wouldn't find that great either. Like, how are we going to move forward on any of these things? Is all we're doing is looking haha at people whom we have decided are more pathetic than us. Here is the key one, and I think I might finish with this because this video is long enough. Here's a woman saying, I'm top 37% this month on OnlyFans. I made about $100. That means 63% of creators made less than $100 this month. Do whatever you want with this information. And that's what I can say to you. What you heard in this video, do whatever you want with that information. Do you think women on OnlyFans are the enemy? Do you think there's some kind of powerful bulwark of the patriarchy? Do you think they deserve the hate they get? I don't. I think this is fucking sad, and it's a symptom of this society. We gain nothing by making fun of people scraping the bottom to survive. And as usual, we're pointing at women, making fun of them, while not looking at the men who drove them into that position in the first place. That needs to change now.